like this. Greetings, everybody. Aboro Aboye. Welcome to the School of Orisha Studies discussion on the Odu of the new year. Eku Oduo. Happy New Year. Eku Oduo. Eku Oduo. May we return this time next year with greater peace, greater prosperity, better health, more happiness, more loved ones, more success, more progress, more victory. I shall let us be able to rejoice by this time next year and proclaim with total certainty that Ifa has done miracles in our lives, that our ancestors have done miracles in our lives, that our Ori has blessed us miraculously. Let us be able to reconvene this time next year and have cause to rejoice and be so happy that we have walked the way of Ifa for another year. Ashe. So that being said, let us begin with our opening invocation. Ediwoya, if you know it, chant along with us. Don't unmute your phone just yet, though, because just the delay doesn't make well for singing together yet. But please chant along with us if you know it. Ediwoya, ayagbo, ayato. Ediwoya, ayagbo, ayato, ayaje. Omeriwoya, ayagbo, ayato, ayaje, ayamu. Omeriwo sinpe. Loni asimi o. Ènìyàn tó pé eriwo ya. Loni asimi o. Ọ̀rúnmìlà o. Ènìyàn tó pé eriwo ya. Loni asimi. Ènìyàn tó pé eriwo ya. Loni asimi. Loni asimi o. Ènìyàn tó pé eriwo ya. Loni asimi o. Ọ̀rúnmìlà o. Ènìyàn tó pé eriwo ya. Loni asimi. Ènìyàn tó pé eriwo ya. Loni asimi. Atoto arere. Atoto arere. Ifá fẹ́ fọ̀hún. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin ẹ dákẹ́ o. Atoto arere. Atoto arere. Ifá fẹ́ fọ̀hún. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin ẹ dákẹ́ o. Atoto arere. Atoto arere. Ifá fẹ́ fọ̀hún. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin ẹ dákẹ́ o. Atoto Atoto arere. Ifá fẹ́ fọ̀hún. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin ẹ dákẹ́ o. Atoto arere. Atoto arere. Ifá fẹ́ fọ̀hún. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin ẹ dákẹ́ o. Atoto arere. Atoto arere. Ifá fẹ́ fọ̀hún, gbogbo ẹ̀yin àdákẹ́ o. 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 Ifá gbé wá, àṣẹ o. Ìbà tó 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 ìbà o. Ìbà o. Ìbà tó 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 ìbà o. Ìbà o. Ìbà tó 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 ìbà o. Onílé àwa àjùbà o. Ìbà tó tó onílé ayé Parakletu àwa àjùbà o. Ìbà tó tó onílé Ọ̀ṣun Ṣẹ̀ngẹ̀ṣẹ̀ àwa àjùbà o. Ìbà tó tó onílé Ọbàtálá Ṣẹ̀rẹ̀mágbò àwa àjùbà o. Ìbà tó tó onílé ayé Yẹ̀mó àwa àjùbà o. Ìbà tó tó onílé Ṣàngó Olùkóso àwa àjùbà o. Ìbà tó tó onílé Ọ̀yá Òrìrì àwa àjùbà o. Ìbà tó tó onílé Ìbà tó 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 ìbà o. Onílé àwa àjùbà o. Ìbà tó tó onílé ayé. Ìbàrẹ̀ o, ìbàrẹ̀ o, ìbàrẹ̀ o. We give thanks and praises to all of the forces of life that have worked in concert to make this moment possible for us. We give thanks and praises to all of the forces of our ancestors, both from our mother's lineage and our father's lineage, that have brought us to this very moment. We pay homage to the eldest person who is in each one of our kingdoms, wherever we might find ourselves, whatever town, whatever state, whatever country might find ourselves at this moment. We pay homage to the oldest person in our community. We give thanks for the sacrifice that you've made. We give thanks for the wisdom that you have cultivated. We give thanks for the way that you have paid for each and every one of us. Whether we know you or not, we know that something you have done has made it possible for us to be here today. So we give thanks. We also give thanks and praise for the brand new baby being born at this moment. That child is taking his or her first breath, opening his or her eyes for the first time, taking their first steps. We give thanks and praise for you because you are the reason why we do what we do. You are the reason why we learn what we learn. You are the reason why we do anything to honor the ancestors. It is because we know that none of this is coming with us. We know none of us is getting out of here alive, and none of the things that we have accumulated is coming with us. Not the knowledge either. We're going to pass it all down. If we don't pass it all down and make it accessible and useful to the future generation, then what we've done has been useless. We know that what we do for ourselves dies with us, but what we do for others will live on. And so we pledge to take everything that we know, all of our resources, and make them accessible to the future generations so that they can stand firmly upon our shoulders and go further than our wildest imagination. Ashe, 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 wa. Kú ọdún o, àjọ̀dún Ìrúnmalẹ̀ lámì ṣe o. Àjọ̀dún Ìrúnmalẹ̀ lámì ṣe o, ọba lọ́rọ̀ lámì ṣe. Àjọ̀dún Ìrúnmalẹ̀ lámì ṣe o. That's a song that we sing for the new year. There's the dance festival, the dance festival is probably the best way to put it, for the divinities. It's the festival of the divinities that happens every year. And this is the beginning of the new year in the Yoruba world. And so it's a joyous time for all devotees. And this, casting of Ifa, which is what they had done early this morning, is part of a broader spectrum of sequences. One day we have to look into that more closely. You know, the festivals don't happen in isolation. One festival has to precede the next. So I believe the Ella festival doesn't get as much, you know, fanfare, but it happens before the Ifa festival. And it sets the stage for Ifa. And then Ifa will set the stage for the new yam. So like right now, the clock is ticking for different things that will happen in every kingdom. And what we're doing is based on the kingdom of Ile-Ife. Ile-Ife is the place where all of the divinities descended from the heavenly realm and manifest on earth. And so all of the divinities are worshipped in Ile-Ife. Okay, all the divinities are worshipped in Ile-Ife. That's what they call it, the city of the gods, right? Because they're all there. And that's the place from which everybody spread out. All of the kings trace themselves back to Ile-Ife. All of the divinities trace their way back to Ile-Ife. It's the umbilical cord. It's the source, the nucleus of Yoruba civilization. And so, although every kingdom has their own orishas, every kingdom has their own Ifa complex that are associated with their palace, Ile-Ife is the source. And so when they speak, they have the prerogative of being able to speak for Orisha devotees all around the world. Okay. More specifically, in the place called OKE ITASE, OKE ITASE. This is the Hills of Command. That's where Orunmila governs. Okay, OKE ITASE. And so that's where we got the word today. So we're thankful to be getting wind of this. And this is very important for us because we have, as a part of our bragging rights and of our obligation, Fashina Falade. Fashina Falade was a Babalawo. Baba Fashina is not from LA originally. I want to say he's from Missouri, but I'd be lying if I said that, so I'm just going to say he's not from LA originally. But Baba Fashina is the one who went back first and went to Ile. When he went to Ile-Ife, OKE ITASE was like a little shack. No, I'm not exaggerating. OKE ITASE was a little shack, and there was nothing to say about it. It was Baba Fashina who went back and was initiated to Ifa. He's one of the very first people. This is like in the early 80s, and then brought back the tradition. He started the temple in Los Angeles, Ijo Orunmila, and pretty much kickstarted what we're practicing now for Baba Fashina Falade. And so where you go to OKE ITASE now, people have always gone there. The Babalawas have always gone there, but it wasn't painted with marble floors and red steps and, you know, compiling the Odu and disseminating it all over the world. None of that was happening. None of that was happening. Teaching of the theology and the philosophy and the real whole comprehensive worldview is a direct result of Fashina Falade's effort to make sure that we were aware of the fullness of Ifa. And so we can't do this without recognizing that effort. And so in keeping with our legacy as bearers of high standard and exponents of reality, we're here in the School of Orisha Studies, and we're going to give a little conversation and insight into the Odu of the year that came for us. The last thing I want to say, this is, just building a little bit more context. When we look at the Odu of the year, what does it mean? The Odu of the year means that in the place where Ifa originates, we expect that they will download, if you will, they will listen to and articulate the annual, not only the annual predictions that Ifa has for us, but also give us like a blueprint for what all devotees can expect for the whole year, right? This is a forecast of what you can expect and the things that you ought to do and the things that you ought not to do in general as a devotee. And so they are going to, like I said, compile the data, the verses, and they're going to make the sacrifices. It's just, for us, it's a question of just having a forecast to predict and understand, anticipate, hey, what's going on in general, and how will our subsequent divinations be contextualized. This creates a context for all the rest of our Ita Doguns and the rest of all the other readings that people are going to get around the world. All right. So that being said, we have Ogbe Alara, Ogbe Otra, Ogbe Jegbe. That's the Ifa that came for us. Ogbe on the right, Otra on the left. Happens to be arguably my favorite Odu Ifa of all time. Happens to be, and it does because I'll never forget being a grad student in San Diego. And back then, you couldn't hear Yoruba language. You could not hear it. Like, to the technology, unless you knew a Nigerian person, you could not hear Yoruba language. There was no, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was no television station, there was no cable, there was no internet, there was no nothing. If you could not hear the language, right? There was a few things that I just was fortunate because I was a grad student. I could go in, and because I knew how to use the library, I could go in and I could not hack, but it was before the internet. So then it was like hacking. You could go and get on other university systems and get data. You could get papers, you could get like microfiche. You guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, we would deal with microfiche, you know, just a little film, and it was like terrible copies on film, and it was, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was that. And it seems like I'm a dinosaur because that was how the first 5 years of my study was. Like, going into these, like, and those research, that stuff was old stuff then. So this is stuff that was, you know, copied in the 40s, 50s, etc. So anyway, you could not watch a video of Yoruba language. You could not listen to an audio tape of Yoruba language. And there were no digital files. There was no MP3s, right? So just to put it in context, and I remember being in the library and finding some book of Ifa. I cannot remember the book, but I remember reading this Odu, Ogbe Alara. And as I'm reading it, I could hear my mother talking to me. And I could hear the exact words that my mother would tell me over and over and over and over and over as a young child. If we have money, but we don't have Iwa, the money belongs to somebody else. If we have a home and we don't have Iwa, the home belongs to someone else. If we have a spouse and we don't have Iwa, the spouse belongs to someone else. If we have children and we don't have Iwa, the children belong to someone else. Of all of the blessings that we have, if we don't have Iwa, all of our blessings belong to someone else. I can hear my mother like sitting right next to me, and it tripped me out so much that I closed the book and I looked around. I said, man, who put this here? Who put this here? And who else knows this is in here? I couldn't understand how my mother's teachings got into this obscure book of Ifa, which I knew nothing about, you know, those back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, yeah. And so I love to see Ogbialara all the time, right? For personal reasons. But this Ogbialara that we have right now is the less kind, less friendly Ogbialara. Okay? This is the less kind, less friendly Ogbialara. This Ifa is rugged. This Ifa is rugged. I've forgotten how you say it, but there's sometimes they will cast Ifa and the owls would just look and say, the Ifa that we cast for you today is tough. That's what they had to have said when they saw this. Ogbialara with Ayewo. With Ayewo. It's not positive. It's not positive. And it's Ayewo of Iku. It's Ayewo of Iku. So Ifa is predicting a lot of misfortune. A lot of misfortune is what Ifa is predicting. And we have Adimu of Ori Ija, right? We have Adimu of Ori Ija. It's our mother's Ori who will intervene on our behalf and save us from the clutches of death. And so it's really interesting that we've seen Ori, different Odu, right? Different Odu, but Ori Iya has featured, even right now, right? Even right now, we have Ireti Osa was our Itadogun cast on the first with Adimu Ori Iya. And Ireti Osa on its own, even if the Adimu is not Ori Iya, Ireti Osa is one of those where it's like, your mother is a god. If I see Ireti Osa for you, that's the second thing I'm going to say to you. And then at the end, I'm going to repeat it again. Your mother is a god. Anything you need, you get down on your knees and you beg your mother's spirit, just like you would God, because she is the only thing between you and success. You want to make it happen? Appeal to your mother's spirit. That's it. And if you don't appeal to your mother's spirit, good luck. Well, right now, Ogbialara is not as extreme as Ireti Osa, but it does reinforce for us the significance of what Ireti Osa is telling us, which is our mother's Ori is everything. Praise your mother's spirit, beginning, middle, and end. All right, because she's the one who's going to intervene on your behalf. We know that the symbol for Ogbialara, and Fayinde mentioned this, as well as Sarah. Oh man, I haven't seen Sarah in such a long time. I miss Sarah. Ogbialara was our first Ifa. When with the first Itadogun that we did in the school, we saw Ogbialara. And so the symbol for Ogbialara is the serpent Da. The serpent Da. The serpent Da represents perpetual motion. It represents primordial energy. It represents that raw, primal survival mode, okay? When we see it positive, it means that you need to rely upon your will to survive to go forward. Your will to survive is strong. But this time it comes, so the serpent Da means physical life on the positive side, it means physical death on the negative side. Okay, when we see that serpent Da. If your primal will to survive is weakened or compromised, it's hard for you to have the vitality that's necessary to thrive. Okay, so this is a strong message. We have to do everything that we can to assure that the kind of like the furnace at the heart of our spirit is kept lit. That spark, we keep that spark alive, and we let it glow. That's our drive. That's our will to survive. Ifa says that we have to be very careful about movement, about activity, about spontaneity, and about change. That our ability to plan and to be very, very careful about our movement is going to make the difference between, going forward or going back. We have to set the stage so that we can take advantage of spontaneity, right? And so, in another way, if you look at something like jazz, some way to train your mind along this way, listen to jazz. Listen to a lot of jazz from like the 60s, the old jazz, where people were really, really, really improvising, right? And do a little study of it. What do I mean by that? I like jazz as an improvisatory art. I hope that's the way you say it. Improvisatory. Is that right? Because everybody is in perfect rhythm. To play jazz, you got to have extremely good rhythm. Extremely good rhythm. It's like, like all African music, but the typical African music is like it's repetitive. Right? But jazz is like the rhythm is implicit. Everybody knows the rhythm so well, but nobody's playing the actual rhythm. But we all know exactly where the beat is, but we know it so well, but nobody has to play it, right? And not only that, we know it so well and no one has to play it, but we can play on where it's supposed to be and improvise. And everybody knows where the beat is supposed to be. It's very complex. So this Ifa is requiring that you have that level of sensitivity to the moment that you can improvise any second. Your level of spontaneity is at an all-time high. You got to be super duper sensitive. But the reason why I use jazz is because even though you're going to improvise, you're still going to be in time and you're still going to be in key. You're not going to change the key. You're not going to change the time. You're not going to change the theme. You're not going to go off and play something different just because you're improvising. You're going to stay locked right in where we are, right? That's what this Ifa requires from us right now. You got to be very, very, very sensitive. That requires that you're very well prepared. You got to be very, very well prepared. This is an Ifa that demands very high level of preparedness. Okay, very important that you are ready to respond to the moment as it changes and creates special opportunities for you to grow. Okay, Ogbe Alara. We know that Ogbe Alara is an Ifa that talks about where Orunmila had Iwa as a wife, right? And Iwa was Orunmila's sort of secret of his success. But Iwa was, someone that no one could get along with though, right? And Orunmila tolerated Iwa, but at a certain point, he became intolerant. He threw Iwa out. Everything fell apart. And Orunmila had to go on this long quest, traveling to the 16 primordial kingdoms, searching for Iwa, and always being a day late and $1 short every time, until he finally got to Isane, the 16th kingdom, where the king recognized Iwa and stalled her long enough to bring Orunmila, and Orunmila and Iwa were rejoined. But what it signifies is a year of quest, a year of reaching, a year of stretching, a year of sojourning. You know what I mean? Like, this is just prepare ourselves for a long, arduous, journey, step by step by step. You can't give up. You can't get discouraged. You can't get confused. right? It's going to take longer than you think it is. It's going to require more steps than you think it should take. You're going to be so close. You feel like it's right at hand, but it's just a little bit beyond your reach. One more time, one more time, one more time. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. Because why it needs to happen that way? Because you need to change. And the only way you're going to change is through going through this whole process. Don't rush the process. Don't try to go from step 1 to step 16. You got to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Another way to get this into you, go and teach some preschoolers. Go teach some preschoolers. Because you know what? It don't matter how bad you want it to go your way. They don't care. They want to play. Deal with it. Get down on your knees. Play with the children on the floor. Every day. I know you want to do math. I know you want to sing. I know you want to teach them science and electricity. You want to do all that stuff. You know they can't because they got bright minds. But they don't care. They want to play. So, you want to teach them colors? You're going to have to spend an hour playing. And then you can slide some colors in. And you have to spend another hour playing. And then you can teach them some numbers. And you have to spend another hour playing. And then you can, right? That's just the way it's going to be. And tomorrow, everybody's going to act like they have no idea who you are. They don't have any understanding of what this place is. They don't understand why you are so upset because nobody's sitting in their chair. This is only day 158 of school. We have done the same thing every day for 166 days. And today you're acting like you have never seen me before. Hello? I'm sorry. I had a moment because I've been there with them little people, and they will take you way beyond where you think the real limit is, because they don't care. It doesn't matter. This is the key. It's why you can't get mad. You can never get mad at the little kids because they're honestly, truly where they are. They're not messing with you. They don't care about you. They just want to play. So you have to respect that process. They're going to want to play until they don't want to play, right? When they're 5, they're not going to be the same as when they're 3. When they're 9, it's not going to be the same. When they're 14, they're going to be totally different from when they were 3. But if you want them to do great things when they're 14, then you got to meet them where they are at 3, and you got to do the things that will reach them and that allow you to be with them at that stage of development. So it is with yourself. You got to accept where you are right now. You got to be where you are right now. You got to deal with who you are and what you have at hand right now and follow all the steps. It will take longer than you think. It will take more tries than you think, but you have to take your time and just change. You're not going to change overnight. That can be tough for adult learners, right? We're not really necessarily interested in the long haul, but that's what it's going to take. All right, so with everything that you're doing, and I'll focus within what you're doing here in the school, you know, you're going to have to listen to that Ijuba. You listen to it 100 times. Listen to it 200 times. You've been running that verse, right? You've been listening to it in your sleep. You know what I mean? You're hitting it on the train, whatever. And well, do it 50 more times. You know, just do it 50 more times. It's just going to take that many times. You know, don't fight it. Don't get upset with yourself. Don't become exasperated to the point that you just push everything away. Take your time because you have to change. The change happens gradually. Okay? And you're growing, you're transforming, you're expanding little by little. Just take your time. All right. Don't get ahead of yourself. That's like at the bottom line of all of this. It's a crucial, fundamental thing where we're talking about motion, change, spontaneity, transformation. Because once a year, what does the snake do? They molt and they shed that skin and they leave a version of themselves exactly the same. But it's because they grew and they outgrow that skin. So it takes time. You're going to outgrow your skin. You're going to outgrow where you are right now, little by little by little. You learn to let it go. Okay. So that's the crucial element here. Now, what are some of the verses that because Ifa is talking about Iku, we want to know some of the ways in which death will come upon someone and how do we avoid death. And so the one story that I know, I don't know it all that well about death, but it's Ogbi Alara. And in this particular verse of Ogbi Alara, you have two characters. And these two characters are just, oh my God. They're not mischievous, they're not careless. They are dedicated to negativity. They are committed to creating mayhem, disruption, destruction, and taking from the environment and the community without giving back. There's nothing reciprocal about it. These people are evildoers. Okay, and so they are going all around the community, and they are destroying things. They're creating mayhem everywhere that they go. Where they can inflict sickness, they inflict sickness. Where they can kill people and impose death, they are doing that. Whereas chaos and confusion, loss, they're doing that. They're just everywhere that they go, they look for opportunities to create bad outcomes for other people. There is a do-gooder, sort of a nemesis to the wicked doers. The right hand he's Otun something, Otun somebody, Otun. We'll just call him Otun, but there's a second part of his name. Otun he stands for righteousness, and Otun is there, and Otun discovers that these two evildoers are dedicated to destroying the community. And so Otun takes it upon himself to take a stand. And Otun starts creating goodness in the world. He starts creating opportunities for people. He starts rectifying things that have been lost, right? So here Ifa is talking about a battle, a classic battle of good versus evil. And you'll see that there's two bad guys and one good guy. And the good guy is standing up and is just boldly, intervening to shut down the wickedness. Okay? If I says there's a battle at play, if I says that there's a struggle, there's a power struggle between good and evil, and it looks like the evil are outnumbering the good. It looks like the evil have the upper hand, over the good, but good is courageous. All right, and so that's the nature of the battle that's playing out ahead of us. Well, the two wicked ones, the evildoers, they weren't going to just stand by and allow this do-gooder to upset their fine handiwork. And so they redoubled their efforts, and they weakened Otun's position. They compromised Otun's standing. They weakened, Otun's support, and eventually they managed to kill Otun. Brah! They killed him. Otun died. No one knew what happened. Oh my God, Otun is dead. And so Otun was laid to rest. Then it was Orunmila who heard about the death of Otun, and Orunmila thought, this is odd, this is strange, this is not normal. And so Orunmila started to look into the matter. And when Orunmila looked into the matter, he discovered yes, there was foul play. Not only was there foul play, Orunmila started to trace back who was responsible. He determined that it was these two wicked doers. And so Orunmila then went out and started to create a counterplay. Now Orunmila is going to avenge the death of the good guy. And so he starts fighting against these two bad guys. Orunmila wages several successful campaigns against the bad guys and eventually is victorious. He's able to remove them, to undo them, to take them out, right? And here, let's see. I want to read the verse to you. Let me read the verse to you. Giro is one of the bad guys. The bird on the top of the Ogun shrine. Akala Nijegi, the bird of Adoro. Akala Nijegi is the other bad guy. The two of them conspired and killed Itun Oba king for consumption. I understand what it's taken. Oh my God. These guys are really bad. They killed him for consumption. They killed him, and then after they killed him, they cut up his body, put him in a pot. They ate him. They cannibalized him. This is why I say like this Ogbialara with Ayewo Iku is really severe. We're not just talking about, like I said, these are not just people who are incidentally bad, who are mischievous, who have a distorted moral compass. They're not quite sure what's, no, these are forces of badness. They're committed to badness. I understand what is taking place very well. The resident Awo of Agbani Regun cast Ifa for Orunmila, who planned to smash up their conspiracy. He was asked to sacrifice. He complied. Ifa says that if it were to be his custom, if a single woman to go to the market, she would bring home 200 dried rats. Decisively, I will certainly overcome their conspiracy. Decisively, if a single woman were to go to the market, she would bring home 200 dried fish, unaided. Decisively, I will certainly overcome their conspiracy. Decisively, it is Agbe which authorizes that their venomous mouths should be permanently closed for me. Decisively, I will certainly overcome their conspiracy. Decisively, it is Aluko who authorizes that their venomous mouths should be rendered ineffective against me. Decisively, I will certainly overcome their conspiracy. Decisively, Ikodide is the one who authorizes that their evil mouths shall be rendered powerlessly against me. Decisively, I will certainly overcome their conspiracy. There are 200 sese leaves in the forest. Decisively, I will certainly overcome their conspiracy. Decisively, whatever the mortar covers will not see the sky any longer. Decisively, I will certainly overcome their conspiracy. Ifa this is a recipe for victory. This is a recipe for being able to undo conspiracies, being able to shut down the plans of evildoers. This Ifa is requiring that we balk the plans of our enemies. Again, when we look at the art of war, the acme of excellence is not a protracted battle. Being able to balk your enemy's plans is the highest form of victory. So when we start looking at who the forces of evil are, we've got to be very precise about putting things in place that will prevent them from being able to create more hardship for us. We got to recognize their pattern. We got to recognize their plan. We've got to be there before they are and undo what they would impose upon us. We don't have the luxury of saying, well, maybe this is why it's important to say that these aren't people who are incidentally bad and they're making mistakes. We got to accept that they're going to do bad. They did bad yesterday. They did bad the day before. They did bad last week. They're committed to badness. So we got to know that they're going to do bad things, and we have to interrupt their pattern. We have to interrupt their play and stop allowing for them to do things and then we're trying to fix it. We can't allow them to do things and now we're trying to undo it. They're taking things away and we're trying to get them back. No, we need to break up their plan. We need to break up the conspiracy decisively, right? In the same way that we know that a woman can go to the market and come back with 200 fish, we know that she can go to the market and come back with 200, right? These are things that are like guaranteed. These are set. These are things that we can depend upon like the rising sun. We need to be as absolute and certain about undoing the forces of wickedness and not allow them to just run amok. And then we're trying to put stuff back into place. So let's see. What happens with Orunmila? They ate that man. Yeah. Orunmila. So Orunmila went to go consult Ifa. He went to go see his Babalawo. Or Yemi Yere. They cast Ifa for Orunmila. They told Orunmila that he had to be prepared before he could confront the duo. Right? So again, this is reiterating how important it is for us to be ready. We're talking about spontaneity and being ready at a moment's notice, because this is what the owls told Orunmila. Baba, you got to be ready. This is not something that, again, you're gonna figure it out in the moment. You have to prepare yourself to do this. All right. So they told Orunmila what sacrifices to make and what observances he should keep. After this, the Ifa work that was stated above will be prepared and buried in Orunmila's house. So this is something that I will find out about if they are preparing this medicine for us, and if not, then we can see about having this medicine prepared that we could put in our homes or on our person that would help us to be prepared to repel, prepared to overcome and transcend the negativity that we're going to have to confront. Because if you haven't gotten it right now, what Ifa is demanding that we do is we have to stand. Right? We don't have to be heroes and go out looking for trouble, but we have to stand for what's right. We have to stand for what's good. We can't stand idly by and let wickedness just happen. We got to take a position, and our position just can't be that, like, I don't like what you're doing. Our position just can't be that this makes me uncomfortable. Our position has to be that we're ready, willing, and able to interrupt our enemy's plan of action. How do we do that? Well, if we know that the enemy is going to attack our money, right? That's how they control you, is through your money. Well, you create a way for us to make money. If you know that the enemy is going to attack you legally, you prepare a way for you to be not vulnerable legally. Right? That's how you undo it. If they're setting traps for you using food, then you avoid that by having food in the house. If they're setting traps for you using money, well, you have money at home. If they're using women to trap you, then you got women at home. If they're using men to trap you, you got men at home. Right? You have to interrupt their plan by looking at what it is that they're going to do. That's like the basic rule of fighting. Don't be where they're going to hit you. They're throwing straight jabs. How about you duck? How about you take a step back? How about that? Let's try that one, right? You don't have to be, going blow for blow. Half of your ability to interrupt their plan is to know where they're going to strike and not be there. Half of your ability to overcome is knowing where you can strike where they will not be. Right? There are parts of our development where they are not going to be. For example, there's There's no one who is teaching us about our true identity, right? We can go to all kinds of different universities. We can go to all kinds of institutes. We can go on television. We can watch movies. We can buy books, but it's very difficult to find reliable sources of information and training about who our true identity is, where we really come from, what our real purpose for life is. That's an area where the enemy has not covered. So we can strike there all day long, right? How long is it going to take for the mainstream to be teaching classes of Yoruba spirituality? How long is that going to take? Forever, right? So while that's an open field where we can address a weakness, then we do it, and we stand on it, because we know by doing this, we are perpetually, all the time that we're doing this, we're interrupting their play towards wickedness, towards corrupting our worldview, corrupting our trajectory and our growth into fulfillment. All right. So this is important. Interrupt the enemy's plan, right? Decisively. Don't allow them to just run amok. All right. So Orunmila has the medicine buried in his house, and this is part of what protects him, because he knows that when he takes this stance, these two bad guys, Giro and Okanleni Jegi, are going to come after him, right? So the first thing Orunmila did was expose the two as the brains behind the misfortunes of the land. So Orunmila found out what was going on. He didn't keep it to himself. He got other people involved with, identifying, naming the names. Now, this is something that's key. This is key. If you guys, maybe you guys have heard of Steve Coakley. Steve Coakley is a blessed memory. He's gone now. But Steve Coakley used to be what they called a conspiracy theorist back in the day. But Steve Coakley had a couple of real distinguishing characteristics as a conspiracy theorist. One of his monikers was Steve Coakley names the names. Steve Coakley names the names. Steve Coakley wouldn't say the white man or them. He would say, what town are we in? Oh, okay, we're in Oakland. This guy, Richard Hamilton, who is the head of such and such an organization, reports to this person in such and such an organization. They are the ones who fund this and this and this and this that are screwing over Black people in this capacity, and this capacity. He named the names, right? So it's just not about like just running wild and just saying everybody. Be precise. Be explicit. This individual who runs this organization is in charge of these activities. These activities adversely affect these people in these capacities. 1, 2, 3. That's also indicative of this, right? We're not going off as loose cannons. Okay, we got to be very precise about naming the names of our adversaries, identifying the attributes and the habits of our adversaries. Be very clear and decisive about exactly who they are and exactly what they are doing. He told everyone to beware of them and run for their lives, right? After this, he challenged the two to a confrontation. This is Orunmila. You know how they say, Orunmila is Iwapele, and Orunmila only says nice, gentle, kind things to his adversaries. No. After this, he challenged the two to a confrontation. Orunmila is bold and forward moving, right? Orunmila is bold and forward moving. If the king is not doing what the king is supposed to do, Orunmila will talk to the king directly and say, Your Highness, this is what's not working. This is not right, okay? So he produced evidence that these guys had done what they had done. He challenged them to dispute what he had said. In the end, the issue became the notice of the king, and a date was fixed for the hearing. Okay? So, Giro and Okanle Nijegi had never been confronted this way before. They became furious with Oromila. What was it his business on how they ran their affairs in the land? Did they torture, kill any of his relatives? Why couldn't he just mind his own business? Why must he interfere with other people's affairs? Who did he really think he was? Why must he confront and accuse them this way in the open? He must be stopped before the appointed day. So they decided that at that moment, they were going to kill Oromila and they were going to make the king run insane. This was the plan of these two, right? So the forces of wicked, it's not like they're just going to stop because somebody calls them out or someone interrupts their plan. They're going to escalate. They're going to escalate, right? They hear about one, then they're going to go to 3. And then they'll go to 5, and then they'll go to 7. This is some of the part that I'm going to assume that, you guys have the same condition that I have had, which is, I assume the good in people maybe a little bit further than what I should. There's some people who don't want to do good. There's some people who don't want to share the light. There's some people who don't believe that you should be able to create more opportunities for yourself and other people for whatever reason. I still haven't quite grasped what it is. But what Ifa is describing is forces who are committed to doing just mischief. They just don't want it any other way. You got to accept that this is how they are, right? You got to accept that this is how they are. So when given the opportunity to either just stop what they're doing or make amends, they escalate. They take it to a higher level. They create more trouble. So they decide we're going to kill Oromila and we're going to make the king go crazy. All right? So that's what we're dealing with. So all their plans about killing Oromila and driving the king insane, however, fell through. They failed. They were not able to do this. And when they realized that the time was moving closer, they came to Oromila's house in the dead of night in order to kill him in his sleep. They were caught before they could do anything, and they were taken to the king's palace, where the king summoned an emergency meeting of the whole community. The two of them were made to confess all of their evil deeds, and the king ordered that they should be sanctioned at that time. So in the end, it was the king's ability, the two wicked doers ran themselves into their own problem. It was their commitment to wickedness that eventually made them expose themselves to the highest level of authority, and they were dealt with accordingly. Ifa says that we have to be prepared to address a relentless force of antagonism and negativity. All right, that's one. Number 2, this is a verse of Ogbealara that is very reminiscent of a verse of Ose Tura. You guys will know this story of Ose Tura, where there was famine in the land and they called all the birds, and the birds had to go and carry a sacrifice to heaven. And they were trying to figure out who would be the one that carried the sacrifice. You know that story? And it was the vulture, Igunugun, who carried the sacrifice. And Igunugun carried the sacrifice all the way to heaven. And while Igunugun was carrying the sacrifice to heaven, Igunugun got burnt by the sun. Burnt all of Igunugun's the feathers off of his head, burnt all of Igunugun's feathers black. So Igunugun, the vulture, black with a burnt head. And everybody swore, while Igunugun is gone, we're going to look after your family. Igunugun flies up, brings the sacrifice. It takes Igunugun years to do the whole thing. By the time Igunugun gets to the world, then the rain has fallen. There's raining everywhere. But there's no food. Igunugun is starving. Igunugun ends up eating so hungry, he ends up eating a carcass on the side of the road, only to go and find out that the carcass was actually his own mother. And they had let all the other birds had let Igunugun's family totally go into desolation. They let his mother die. They let her die out in the street. And Igunugu was so outraged, he went back to Olodumare. Olodumare then decreed that Igunugu would always have food. Igunugu would be able to actually, kind of desecrate the bodies of all the other birds and other animals. And the way that they had let him or her, fall into disgrace and be reduced to eating the carcass of his own mother, so would Igunugu feed on the carcasses of all the others. So they would ultimately die in disgrace. Ifa is saying that it is our unwillingness, number one, to meet the challenge, right? Because all the other birds refused to take on the challenge. They didn't want to carry the sacrifice. They didn't want to go the distance, right? When we talk about a woman that's taking that long journey, the other birds didn't want to take that long journey. So they put it in Igunugu's hands. And then when Igunugu went to go take care of the business for everybody else, the other birds weren't even holding up Igunugu's family. So again, death comes through unwillingness to be decisive, unwillingness to take that stand, unwillingness to walk the walk all the way through and do your part. You got to do your part, right? You got to do your part. If you're not going to carry the sacrifice all the way and you're going to empower somebody else to do it, well, then you support the person who's going to do the work for you, right? The best thing for you to do is take the journey. But if you can't take the journey, then you take care of the one who is taking the journey. You look after the one who is willing to stand in the gap for you. You can't have it both ways. That's what the birds did. They turned their back on Igunugu. And as a result, they were dying in droves. And not only that, it's not just that they died, but Igunugu was now, as the vulture has license to feed on their bodies, right? So you think about that, it's dying in disgrace. It's a perpetual mark, right? To have a vulture eat your body. It means you weren't buried properly. It means your eternal soul. You understand what I'm saying? It has like, it's a severe, I don't like these kinds of messages because it's like so negative. It's so negative. But it's a cautionary tale, right? And I wouldn't be doing the right thing if I didn't tell it to you this way. So I apologize for it. You know what I mean? This is a somber message, but I want you to take it seriously and get ahead of it, right? So that you're not adversely affected by it. But this Ogbe Alada is letting us know that when it comes to wickedness, we got to take a stand against it. And when it comes to correcting the problems, addressing the problems, we have to either be willing to do that work to fix things, or we have to be committed to supporting the ones who are doing that work. So if there's community organizations, if there's people, whatever, whoever's doing the work that addresses the situation, then you get behind those people, you get behind those organizations, you help them get it done, right? Because they are the ones that are volunteering themselves to rectify the situation on our behalf. So those are the two main verses that I know about death and when it pertains to Ogbe Alada. There's another great verse in here about Oshun. What I think is pertinent primarily because of the Odi Iya piece. And this is kind of like Ose Tura too. This verse, but it's not all the divinities. It's like Orunmila, Obatala, Ogun, and Shango. Orunmila, Obatala, Ogun, and Shango are creating, and they're on a frenzy. They're making everything you could imagine, and they don't have Oshun as a part of the. No, I'm sorry. What they're doing, they're creating like crazy, right? They're creating like crazy. But here's the breakdown. Ogun Obatala, Shango, and Orunmila. They made an agreement that they would make things, and as they're making things, as they're creating, they would plan things out, and then at the end of the day, they would come and check in with Oshun. And they say, yeah, this is what we want to do. What do you think? She would say, yes, that's perfect, or no, that ain't gonna cut it. And so they would work and they would see Oshun, because Oshun is quality assurance, right? Oshun is quality. I mean, she's a lot of other things, but for me, the best vision that I have of Oshun, where I really understand the magnitude of her work, Oshun is quality assurance. She can tell you that's good, that's not good, and you can bank on it. If Oshun says it's good, it's good. If she said it ain't good, you might get away with it, but it ain't gonna float, you know? So Oshun is quality assurance, and they were doing it, and everything was fine. But they came to the point where they got this idea that, nah, we don't have to keep telling Oshun, we ain't gotta come check in with her, we know what we doing. So they started doing the work, and you know what happened. Roads was going bad, divinations was coming out wrong, you know what I mean? Nothing was working out, and they had to come back, and they had to appeal to Oshun again. And Oshun, gracious as she is, you know, she said, I told you. I told you. But she forgave them, and she continued to give them the eye, you know. She gave them the nod. Yes, that's going to work. No, that's not going to work. So in this regard, it's not Iya, Ordi, Iya exactly, but it's close enough. It's close enough. You know, we're depending on Oshun this year for high quality work. Call on Oshun for high quality work. Iya, is this good? Does this meet your standard? As you're doing all of your prayers, you're taking a stance against wickedness. You're supporting all of the individuals and the groups that are acting on your behalf. And as you're trying to determine the quality of your work, the quality of your offering, the quality of your plans and your vision for this year, yeah, Oshun, is this right? Am I going in the right direction? Is this going to get me the desired outcomes? Has this met with your vision of high quality? And if she says no, again, she just said no. You got to do it again. If you got to do it 5 times, you got to do it 5 times. If you got to do it 15 times, you have to do it 15 times. But like the Cubans say, it's better to start 1,000 times. It's better to start over 1,000 times than to finish 1 time bad. That's a Cuban saying. It's better to start over 1,000 times than to finish 1 time bad. If you depend on Oshun, you may have to start over 1,000 times, but you will never finish bad. Right? And so when you think about the image of a vulture eating a carcass, that's emblematic of somebody finishing bad. You finish bad if your body's getting devoured by a vulture on the side of the road. That's a bad finish. We want to avoid that. We avoid that by supporting the vulture. Who is the vulture? The vulture is the one who's willing to carry the sacrifice on all the way to heaven on behalf of the other birds. The vulture gets scorched on behalf of the other birds. The vulture gets all of the hair burnt off his head for the other birds. The other birds were supposed to take care of vulture's family, right? They didn't do that. So they finished bad. The other 2, Giro and Okanle Nijeki, they just were committed to doing wrong. They finished bad, right? So I'm going to pause right there because we've probably given enough information to generate some questions with those 3 verses of Ifa. The last one about Yeye Oshun does not really talk to us about death so much. It talks about the role of Ori Iya as a vision, as an eye for high quality in high standards. But the other two verses are how you avert death, according to OKE Alata. So that being said, do you guys have any questions or insights? What does this Ifa mean to you? That's what I want to know firstly. What do you think Ifa is telling you, and what is Ifa telling us as a group? Let's start with that. What is OKE Alata telling you personally, and what is OKE Alata telling us as a group in the School of Orisha Studies?
Hi, it's Ellison.
Ellison, good morning. Let's go Ellison, and then after Ellison, Elandris.
Good morning, everybody. So this one spoke to me heavily. One of my Odus is Arete Sa. So appeasing Ori Iya, and Ori Iya being my success. Gratefully, she's alive. So I can call upon her in the physical realm, and I can also call to her spirit realm for where she hasn't ascended to that high place by appeasing Ori Iya in the spirit. But I think that it is very critical that we do put our mother and our mother spirit. They are the key to our lineage. And I'm Yoruba. And so that's my lineage. So it means a lot to me from a personal place. But also personally, in my younger years, in my 20s, I was, I did a lot of stuff. I was an entrepreneur. I had multiple businesses. I was into everything. And then I've slowed down tremendously over the past 12 years. Now that I'm middle age, I'm in my 40s now. And, I can see so many other people that are like launching all of these things, doing all of these things. And, I've had a tendency to look back and say, I want to be doing this, that, and the third. But where my focus needs to be is being rooted and grounded in this tradition that I've been walking with. And it hasn't been a very long time. And, it doesn't happen overnight. And there's a lot of things that I have to learn, and a lot of grounding and preparation that I have. So this speaks to me. This is the preparation time. This is where it may not be exactly right the first time. You need to keep practicing, keep going, and, peacefully and with patience, continue to prepare yourself, because you want to do it right the first time. You don't want to just get out there trying to do this, that, and the third, and you haven't taken your time in it. And in my younger years, it was like energy. I was able to launch things quickly, do this and that. And that is not where I'm supposed to be right now. So this Odu spoke to me greatly. I think as it's speaking to the School of Orisha Studies, we are ambassadors, right? We are to ground ourselves, learn the tradition, and help people get on to that Sankofa experience. I mean, a lot of people are ready. They're ready for war. It's ripe. They're ready. And they want to come in, and they want to come in fighting and blasting. And, it's for us to help them on that path, that transformation, that journey, and be ambassadors, and for them to see us and to not be ashamed about what it is that we do, and to show good character, because my family may be Christian and they may be looking at me, but they see the character, they see the things that I do, my actions. They know it's that practicing this tradition isn't doing any harm. They see the blessings that are in my life as a result of it. So for us to continue to exemplify that good behavior and that good character, so that they can see that there isn't anything evil about this tradition. So I really like how Baba said, if there's certain things that you're not able to do, there's ways that you can support. We all have unique gifts and talents, and we can support this cause in whatever way that we can. So I believe that this year is gonna be like a sojourner. Like, it's gonna be long. It is gonna, require a lot, but it has to be strategy. It takes time. When people rob a bank, they will sit there and watch and scope the place out for weeks and weeks and weeks. They're looking for how many people are walking in, how many cameras, or what happens at this time, or what happens at this time. none of that is fast. They don't just say today I want to rob a bank and then go rob the bank tomorrow. They spend a case the place, you know, they case it and they come up with a strategy. It's not checkers, it's chess. So that's how I believe that it's speaking. And so School of Orisha Studies, I mean, the fact that we're all here is step one, right? So anyway, I won't be long-winded. I know there's a lot of students that want to speak, but this is it's a real, I always like to say it's a good E5. I'm like, but this is a warning. This is, so with it being such a strong warning, I think it just speaks clearly to the condition in the world, as well as the condition within my personal life.
Ashe. We are blessed to be at this particular point. You know, we are blessed, and I like what you said about you know, I mean, what I took away from it was the context of where we are, and being able to continue based on our understanding of the fullness of our situation. So let's go. We have Elandris, and then Elbita, and then Raquel.
Alafia, Bob.
Adupe, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, thank you. I got a couple of different thoughts from this. I know that you said it's gonna be a struggle and it's gonna be a journey, but in a challenge. But what I was thinking was, you know what I'm saying, like it's gonna be good on the other side. Once you go through some things, it's gonna be like some good on the other side. So that's what I was thinking. But another thing that I was thinking is how you were saying the mother has been coming up in our Itado Ogun, then it just came up again. So I need to know, how do I feed my mother's order? Because like you said, Ogun and Obatala and Shango and Orumila, they stopped asking Oshun about their particular plans, and I had started doing that with my mama. I always come to her and I tell her like my business plans or how I'm gonna do something, but then I stopped doing that. So that's because you said that, that's real particular. And then another thing is like taking time, and it came up in our Itado Boom, just the balance and not extending yourself too far. How do you find, is that like a personal thing, or how do you find that balance of I'm doing what I'm doing, but I'm not stretching if I can handle it, how do I know if I'm not stretching myself too far?
Okay. That the second part around overextending yourself and not going too far is it's a tricky balance, because obviously you don't want to under challenge yourself, but you want to be able to complete what you set out to do. And so I think that on one hand, if you are, if you're able to set measurable goals for what you do, measurable in the sense that you can say that by September, you know, you will hit certain numbers. You'll accomplish certain things. By December, you'll do certain things, you know. That will help you be able to allocate the time and whatever resources that you need to be able to accomplish that. And if you find in that over and over again, like in the last 3 months, in the last 6 months, in the last 9 months, you haven't been able to actually accomplish anything that you set out to do, then you know that you're overextending yourself or something is off, right? So I think being, you know, kind of data driven, you know, I'm not a data guy, but but when I know when I got to accomplish something, like, so right now I got on my wall right here, there's some numbers, there's some things that guide me to say, look, you're going to do this and that. Anything other than that is cute, but you're going to do this and you're going to do that. So I think that's one of the important things. Like, for example, if I go back to, I started off talking about when Fashola and I used to work in the Beehive. Well, it was like, we're going to do 7 musicals a year, right? That was my benchmark. We're going to do 7 musicals a year. And We did, right? We did 7 musicals a year. But that was like, each one of them was its own little project, and it required a whole bunch of other little tiny moving parts. But that was just a benchmark that I was able to set forward and do it once a month at a time, once a month, right? So that's where my brain works. I think you may have a different setup, but however you conceptualize it, that allows you to target and then move to the target and evaluate whether or not you hit the target. That's going to allow you to ultimately know I'm doing too much or I'm not doing enough. If you're hitting the target every time and it's like easy, you walking over the fence. Like I used to run track in high school, right? And our coach he was a mean man. You would see a guy win a race and the coach would chew his behind out, man. Why? Because a guy win the race and he came across the finish line like a pretty boy Floyd. Like, man, how you gonna win the race looking all pretty and graceful like that? When you cross that finish line, I want to see your tongue hanging out. I want to see your eyes crossed. I want to see your knees buckle. Why? Because that means you gave everything you had.
Right.
Right? So stuff like that. That's the way I frame it up for myself. Challenge yourself enough that you can be exhausted at the end, but you actually can hit the numbers that you want to hit. So that's one. The other piece around is your mother alive?
Yes, she is.
Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Your mother is alive. You can do things like, as you mentioned, you ask her for guidance, or you just check in with her. You know, like you may not necessarily need her advice, but you just want her to know this is what you're doing.
That's
right. And it could be like that. You could just say it. Okay, disclaimer, Mom. I don't want your advice on this. I got it. But I just want you to know I'm doing this, and I'm doing this. Here's the pictures, da-da-da-da-da. And then, you know, that might be, and of course, she may only just say, good job, son. Or she might say, she might just go, and that means.
Right.
That means something else.
That's why I like to go to her, because she gonna tell me like, that's not for you, I don't think, or she gonna be like, yeah, that's something that you can actually work. If I talk to anybody else like my uncle, he just gonna be like, oh yeah, I think you can do it. You know what I'm saying? And it's something I like, climbing Mount Everest. He'll say, yeah, go do it today. My mom be like, you got to do some work for that, right? So that's why I talked to her about it.
Yeah. So if it's that way, you can go to your mother at a certain point. So maybe, for example, first you go to your uncle. You got the idea. First you go to your uncle, because your uncle's gonna be like, yeah, you could do that. You could do that. Just blah blah blah. You just matter of fact, here's $100, and go for it, right?
Right.
You get it worked out. You know what you're gonna, and now you have a plan, and if your mother's gonna kind of troubleshoot it, then you can run it past your mother when you're ready to hear the constructive criticism.
Gotcha.
I got a son like that. One of my sons, how old is Shagun? Shagun is 16. But he has a pessimistic perspective. So when he was probably about 8, I started realizing that he was a pessimist. I'd say, Shay, what do you think about this? That ain't gonna work, Baba. That's craziness. And I'm like, what? I brought Shagun to, we had worship. We used to do worship on Sundays. We prayed, all of us. We're like all of us here talking, grown folks. We talking about Odu Ifa. Shagun, I got a question. What's your question, Shagun? It's like, I don't see why any of this matters. I don't see why we're talking about any of this. This ain't history. This is not a real fact. What is it? Why are we talking about Ifa? This is my son.
Right.
And I said, okay. Now, if I didn't know his personality, it would be offensive, right? But I know his personality. So in the sense that he's a pessimist, he's going to find all the gaps. He's going to find all the holes. He's going to find all the inconsistencies. And he's going to identify them explicitly in a very pointed way. So it's okay because now I can start taking notes. So now I
Right.
go to Shegun when I'm ready to hear constructive criticism. So even today, I'll run it by him and then I'll start taking notes. I won't say nothing. I just listen to what he says. Okay, this person is not going to follow through. This system that I have is not foolproof. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is,
Right.
and I'll follow up on it. And most times, he's got good advice. He's got good insight. So your mom, you know, she loves you. She cares about you. She wants what's best for you. You just may have to calculate where she is, where you work her into the feedback loop, right? Is she
Gotcha.
first, second, third? Where, you know what I'm saying? Which point you talk to?
Right.
So I think if you go that way, you got a good chance of being successful.
Okay. And about the part about being optimistic, even though it's coming in a negative respect, is that naive, or is that, what you think about that?
No, I think it's good because the same thing. The what Ifa is telling us is what we should expect. So to be forewarned is to be forearmed. If we do what Ifa says, then either A, will avert some of the difficulties, or B, when the difficulties arise, we'll be in a better position to address it and come out of it with some success.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We thank you, Fa. All right. Elbita.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, Abudu Aboye. Good
Uh,
morning, good afternoon. Yeah. Yes, like I told you last night, Baba, this was the Odu that came out for my son. And so he's been living this Odu since February, same formation.
oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, this has been rough. He's been because he's a child, like who's his enemy? So we're gonna, the issue is more academically, and like you were saying about your son, the personality. If other people don't know your child, so they would take offense to certain things that the child says or does. But when a child has like an old spirit, certain things that come out their mouth are so poignant, but yet you're looking at a child's face and you're like, well, what is this child talking about? And that's his problem. The thing with the mother, that was also told to him again, his mother's spirit. He has to elevate and take care of his mother's spirit, and that he had a lot of ego thing going on. And so stating that this was the last Odu that came out for him, he had to feed Egbe too. So, and now this is the Odu of the year. Is this gonna be a continuation, even though he made his Ebo? Or
Right. Well, given the fact that this was the Odu that was cast for him at the beginning of the year, so like this is so I can have context. This is like he has a hand of Ifa, and you cast Ifa. You had the Ifa cast for him for his annual forecast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it. So yeah, it means that the Ifa that was cast for him personally is getting reinforced, like it's totally affirmed. He needs to be like these messages. No, these are like his. These are very binding for him. Very binding for him. It's important that he is not teamed up with any of the like mischief makers. Like you said, what is he? How old is he? 12?
He's not the mischief maker. He's Otun.
Okay.
And he gets punished for being Otun. The mischief makers are the ones that's been the whole thing from February until school closed. And sometimes it is like that. He walks to the beat of his own drum. He's not the crowd pleaser. He's the one that gets in trouble based on what other people have done or what other kids have done, and the conspiracies and all of that. It's a whole lot. We can't get into all of that, but yeah.
So he has to be in both verses, actually in all the verses. What you see is a willingness for a person to take the whole journey. and a will to persevere and be very patient and think about the end. So for him, you know, the challenge will be for you to start to get a very clear understanding of how far into the future he can see. How far, I mean, when I say that, I mean, how far into the future can he project his image? So if you start to observe and listen to him, start to try to discern how clearly he can see himself into the future. Can he see himself a year from now? Can he see himself 5 years from now? Or can he see himself, does it really taper off at 3 months? Is it 6 months? Right? And that will, so based on how he sees himself, how far he can project himself into the future will help you to be able to then help him manage his own expectations about himself and about how what he can expect showing up. Hey, 3 months from now, what is this going to look like for you, Junior? 3 months from now, how are you, you know what I mean? What are your grades going to be? Or what are your friendships going to be? Or, you know what I mean? Like really helping him get clear about what he needs it to be at whatever time interval he can project himself into the future. Because that's like at the seed of this Ifa. Orunmila was able to take that long journey because he could see, you know, 16 kingdoms down. Gunogun was able to take that long journey, carried all the way to heaven because he could see that far in advance, right? So start to get, your job will be talking to him and doing some spy work, some observation work, you know what I mean? Ask some deliberate kinds of questions to see how far can he see himself into the future. And it's how far it is, if it's a week, then that's how you deal with him. A week. What is it going to be a week from now? You're going to do all of these things so that this time next week, it's better for you. And then next week, and then the week after, and then maybe it'll grow to 2 weeks, and then 3 weeks, then a month, then 3 months. But that's what I would say as far as coaching him through the stages of development.
Yeah, they also taught the being diligent and not giving up thing also came out for him and how he had to continue. And that's been my struggle because, you know, he's a scientific minded child. Everything else is like, he don't care. This is a Libra that don't like books. I'm like, what? No, I buy all these books. I try and get him to read. I'm like, maybe you'll learn to love it. But no, but he's a scientific, mathematical type of child. So I try to deal with him on that level. Sometimes you have to force them to do something. Listen, if you read 3 chapters right now and you can tell me the 3 chapters that you read, you can get this and you can get that. You know, I don't really like bribing kids, but you know, I'm gonna ask you. I got to sometimes. So that's how I've been working with him, and my frustration has come with, again, the educational the educational system and how their way of teaching has shifted and how they're not really giving these kids what they really need. So when I'm sitting here working with him, it's totally different and opposite. So you got to do it your homeschooling your way, and then when he gets on that computer to do it the way that they want him to do it, which to me is totally retarded and backwards, he has to try and do it that way as well. So, but the whole killing and then eating, that sounds like some sacrificial, some old witchery type stuff.
Right.
And that's another issue, another part of him. And then you have the Irete Osa thing, put that all together. And then I also always add his Odu, because a lot of his stuff from his personal Odu as well, about his character and what he's supposed to do and what he's supposed to achieve. This online stuff, this is just all, this is gonna be major, because now it's not just affecting him. This is not just his personal Odu for the year, but now it's hitting for the world. So now I'm more into it. Not that I haven't, because I believe when a child is a child, you also live their Odu with them. So you got the responsibility of theirs and yours. But if what has been going on since February is going to be going on for the rest of the year, it really is going to be challenging. It's going to be a lot.
A lot of patience. And the last thing I would say that particularly for him as a boy, Ogbialara has a, it also, you're for a boy, you have to prove yourself. There's a need for you to prove yourself and for you to demonstrate your worthiness to lead, to govern, and to rule. And so it's important that he make the proper sacrifices so that what he does along the way is recognized. This is the boy who his father is a king, and he's trying to demonstrate to his father that he's worthy to be a king too. So, but he refused to sacrifice, and so every time he shot an antelope, and he went to go tell his father, "Baba, I'm a hunter." His father is all proud. He takes all the chiefs. They go. By the time he goes back, Eshu, the antelope, she shot it in the water, and it fell in the water. It was a swampy area. Let me put it this way: it's a swampy area. He shoots the antelope. It falls. He goes to bring them the king. By the time they get back, he can't see. It looks like it's underwater. It's falling in the water now. It's like, where's all this water come from? Then boom, he shoots a buffalo. Same thing. Boom, he shoots a elephant. Same thing. Now his father's like, and everybody, the chiefs are whispering, "Man, the prince is a liar."
Yes.
The prince is a liar.
Yes. Yeah.
So he's so frustrated because he's trying to prove himself. He knows he's hitting them, but he doesn't have any proof. There's a couple of ways this verse goes. One of the ways in which, though, that he goes, he finally makes the ebo, and what happens is a woman comes up out of the water in one verse. A woman, and she's beautiful, and she's talking to him, and he goes to find this woman, and she disappears. And when she disappears, he looks down. He goes to her and he walks out into the water. And he keeps thinking the water, because it goes so far, he's thinking it's gonna go deep, but it never goes deep. He walks out like 200 yards and the water never gets beyond his shins. And then the woman disappears, and he looks down, and there is the antelope that he shot. There's the buffalo that he shot. There's the elephant that he shot. They're just under the water. He thought that they were deep, you know what I mean, and had disappeared, but it's not. They're just under the surface of the water. So then that Ifa is letting him know that he needs to sacrifice so that what he does is not perceived as fake. That his work is really what he says it is, what he claims it is. And he's got to be willing to, go that extra step. Then he proves it. In another version of the story, he goes out and he's hunting in the middle of the night. And so he lights a little fire. This is after he shot the first, the deer, the buffalo, and the antelope. Excuse me, the deer, the buffalo, and the elephant. Now he's out and he's kind of isolated. And he's camped out and he's trying to make the big catch. He's burned the fire in the middle of the night. At the same time, there was another army that was going out. They were going to raid a kingdom. They refused to sacrifice. While they were out, their chief died, and they were wandering, and they see the fire from the prince. They come over. They tell him the story. Now he's going to show his father, and that he can lead people. He can, what I'm saying? But he's really just promising these people of this lost kingdom that he's going to have his father take care of them. But it looks like when he's coming across the horizon, one guy with this huge army, it looks like an invasion. So his father's scouts run and tell him. His father comes out with his army. They meet his son. He's like, "Son, what the heck? When you coming to invade?" And he's like, "No, I ain't coming to invade. I just found these people. They lost their leader. They've been wandering. They don't know what to do. I've come in to show you that I brought these people to prove myself." His father says, "Fine. You want to prove yourself. They don't have a leader. From now on, you will be their king. And this land from here where y'all are going back, that's your territory. Stay over there with your kingdom. And so he ends up, you know, ascending his own throne and creating his own space. Ifa says that for him as an individual, he needs to be prepared to take all the necessary steps to prepare himself for leadership. And so that's part of your task. Prepare him.
We've been trying. We've been
It's
trying.
a long time. So,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You'll be at it forever. So don't get discouraged. Don't let him get discouraged. Take it in small increments, a month, a week, however far he can see, and allow him to hyper focus on whatever he can see in that, you know, in that measurable time, and just strive to make it longer and longer, a week, a month, 6 months, a year.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, Raquel.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Raquel. How are you?
It's early, but I'm good. All right. First, I want to say thank you for changing my perspective on Ochun, because everything I hear about Ochun is she cute, she beautiful, she did. I don't got time for that. But this perspective, quality assurance, I'm on board with that. I understand her now. And what's funny is I don't really pay too much homage except to Elegua, you know. But yesterday I had this thing like inside, like I'm gonna, whatever Ochun's Day was recently, that day I was all day and I was like, you're dressing in yellow today. We're gonna do beautifying things to everybody, all the girls in my family here. Today we're doing this. This is all the day of the full moon. I was all up in her that day for no reason, because I don't even have an affinity. I think it's because I was preparing for this moment when you changed my perspective on her. I also want to thank you because you changed my perspective on vultures. I'm always scared of vultures. I see them, I'm like, someone's gonna die. And 2 days ago, I sat outside and 3 of them went overhead. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm thinking to myself, no, you just told me my sacrifice was accepted. That's when I heard what you said today. And you made me cry. I had to cover my face because, you know, we're on video. And you made me cry because this whole, all this that you're saying, it was personal to me because I lived all of this. I'm going to touch on what you said to Alvita. How far can you see? In plenty of my jobs that I've had before, one job I was told, you need to slow down because, well, they didn't say it like that. I had to interpret it to them and feed it back to them. I'm like, are you telling me I need to slow down because y'all can't catch up? And she said, yes. You know, I quit that job. I got another job that, because I can see and plan things really far into the future, they were like, you know what, you're in charge of this, that, and that. So I had like 5 different bosses, and I was only there part-time, 4 days a week, that's it, and only 4 hours a day. And I had all that stuff in line. Okay? That was my talent, putting things in order and putting people in their place and telling them this. You know what? I was attuned in that area. Right. Quality control.
Right.
But why I'm saying that is because what I'm living with you through the School of Racial Studies, what we're living right now, I know there's going to be victory. I have faith for Alvita's son because I just lived that. So me, and the way I know I myself, I probably planned for myself. You're going to live this personal thing first. You're going to succeed and check off all those boxes, because everything you said, hold up, about your enemies. I had evildoers plotting, and they tried. I promise you, like 3 times I was trying. I've been targeted to get killed 3 times. They didn't consume me though. I ran, like you said, right? And I was decisive and precise about exposing. And I didn't know that I was going to have any success in doing that. I'm like, you know what? These people have been that way forever. I have no idea. So this was really personal, everything you said today. But then, slowly but surely, I get calls from back home, and they say to me, back home in Mexico, because I live in both places. I get calls, and they say to me, you know what? This people know. You know what? This people know. Why? Because I took the time to study them, expose everything, not even knowing that I was going to have any kind of chance at all. Anyway, on one of those threads that you put yesterday, and I'm so glad you posted that, how is what's going on affecting your spiritual development? We had a lot of back and forth. Me and Miss Kim, this last thing that I posted was, you made a call to all of us, and we heard it. We're all here getting together, getting prepared correctly to expose all this evil and do everything but the right way, knowing with full knowledge that we're going to get through this. I know it because I did it on a personal level, and it worked for me. And I know that with your leadership, we're going to go the right way. It's going to work out. It will. And that's all I got. Oh, wait, no, it's not all I got. No, I wrote down here something about your son, Chegun. I never took classes to draw. My mother took classes to draw. But for some reason, I can draw. But you know what I draw? I don't draw to draw. I'm drawing the negative spaces, the dark places. That's what I'm looking at when I transfer, because all of us are light, just like this paper. All of us are light. What makes you, you, is the dark spaces that are filled in. And that's how I end up with an image, because I'm only drawing the dark. Only the dark. So your son can see the dark because he's forming what needs, you know, the image, and you're not seeing it. Y'all looking at it as it's pessimistic or it's not. No, he can see what needs to be filled in so that the true image comes out in the end, because all of us are light. What makes you, you, is your dark places. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I got.
I say that's beautiful. That last piece around drawing the darkness is very insightful. That's very insightful. You have to draw. Yeah, I love that. I'll talk to Shegun about that too. Like, you know what you're doing, son? You're an artist. You're drawing the dark spaces so we can see a full picture. That's very good. I love it. I truly do. And I pray that in this year that all of the things that have been threatening you and menacing over your life, that Ifa will make a way for those things to be removed once and for all. That your Ori will reject death, your Ori will reject sickness, your Ori will reject attack and being assailed from any force, known or unknown, seen or unseen. And that by this time next year, you'll be able to stand before us and say, all of the things that had threatened to shorten my life or compromise my well-being have been removed, and I can be completely and absolutely free.
I should.
Yeah. Okay, we have Kate, Nicole, and then Fainde.
Aboro Boye.
How are you?
Oh, hanging in there.
Yes.
You know, just surfing the waves, man. Just trying to navigate through everything. Very, very grateful for this group and for our studies, because I don't, in this time, I just feel very blessed to have this insight and this knowledge. And as far as Obealara, one of the signs I walk with is its inverse, Otoroniko. So Toro Ogbe. And when I study an Odu, I like to study its inverse, because then you really get a sense for the motion of the energy and how it can manifest in different ways. And so I've spent some time with this Odu, and there's so much in it. I love the insight that you gave about how when you can't do something, when you can't take an action yourself, you need to support the others doing it. And that spoke really deeply to me, because I'm a cancer survivor, and my son is a type 1 diabetic, and he has other special needs. He's a child of Obatala. So in this pandemic, in this time, we're under quarantine for the foreseeable future. Not only on behalf of my health, but because I have to stay healthy to take.
No, it froze.
They can die from a stomach bug. They can die from sleeping. Like, a lot of people don't know that. So this is dangerous for him. So I've been in the house for like 2.5 months. And when all of the protesting started, I wanted to be there. I want to be there so badly. I have friends down there. I have friends in the hospital, unfortunately. But here in Denver, it's big. And I've wanted to go, and I've wanted to take my son. He's 10. If we were healthy, I would want to show him, because this is such an important time. And those are the things that, you know, being a part of this moment in history is so vital. And especially, I mean, I am raising a future white man and I want him to, you know what's going on and remember this and know why, and carry those things with him. So, you know, we talk about it, and we, you know, I'm really open with him, trying to teach him what I can, but in not being able to be there, I'm trying to find ways to support, you know, the ACLU and NAACP and the Black businesses here in Denver and the protesters, and, you know, so it's that message really hit me. And another thing that struck me about this Odu, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in the story of Iwa and Arumala, when she was one of his wives and she was kind of awkward and nobody liked her and couldn't really do anything right, and then Arumala told her to cook a dinner, and that she ended up like using all of his divination tools and all his sacred instruments to make the dinner. And the dinner was great, but he was like, you know, and cast her out. And then went through the whole journey to find her and to get her back. And what struck me with that is that, and this has been coming up more and more for me recently, is the people that annoy us and irritate us and just rub us the wrong way, and, you know, do wrong to us is not really the word, but like just that we don't really get, end up being our biggest teachers in a lot of ways, and help us with our character. And it's funny because for me, one of those people is my mother. And you know, we love each other very much, but we don't get one another. And she especially doesn't get me with, like, she's like, you're in an African religion. What is this? You know, we're Episcopalians. Like, what's going on? And I just, you know, have to always, when I'm interacting with her, I'm trying to stay in good character and not go into reacting. And just that exercise helps me, you know, get stronger. It's like an emotional workout. But I know I thought it's been very interesting for me, the amount of Odu's speaking to honoring our mother. And you know, she's a interesting woman. So I'm struck by the polarity of the people who rub us the wrong way, the people who annoy us or don't do things the way that we do, versus the people who are actively out there being evildoers and devouring people. And yeah, I need to flush that out in my own mind, but the polarity strikes me. And yeah, those are my impressions, and I just wanted to share them. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that when it comes to particularly the piece on, Ori Iya, it's powerful, right? I heard you describing it from both angles, from being a mother and being a daughter.
Yes.
And the challenges that go into both. There's nothing like it, one way or the other. Being a child of a mother and being a mother. I've never been a mother, so I know nothing about that. But I know what it's like to be, to have a mother. So it's like, ain't nothing like that. Nothing. So it's commendable. It's commendable, one way or the other. Motherhood is all you can do is try to be the best that you can be at it, because this is one of a kind. It's a one of a kind relationship. There's nothing that compares to motherhood. So you got to try to, there's nothing. You have to do your very best. And I feel like as a father, the best thing I can do is try to just be the best father I can be. And it helps me understand my father all along the way, and
I see.
I can't compare. I can contrast, and I can learn along the way based on what I can do as a father. And that's all I can really do. Right. And I find a lot of times when it comes to this, when I see Ori Iya, and I just try to put myself into the women's shoes, you know what I mean, based on my experience as a father and having a father. And it's the only real happiness I get is from trying to be the best that I can be. No matter what my father is or is not, I can love him, and I can respect what he has or has not done based on the work that I put in as a person. And I find that if I don't put in that work, then it gets crazy, because now I start to, right? Either I'm projecting the good or the bad, you know what I mean? And now I'm not even having a relationship with him. In my mind, my imaginary relationship with him is not even real, just because I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not doing the internal work of being the best father that I can be.
Ashe. Right.
So I think that's magnificent, and it's encouraging, and I hope that this will be a good year for, in time, and for you as a mother, and for your mother as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We thank you, Fa. We have Nicole, and then Faide, and Egbe Twain. Dr. T, is that Dr. That is Dr. T.
Yeah.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Morning, everybody. Afternoon, if you're on the East Coast. So for me, thinking about everything's been said in the Odu, for me, I don't see it as pessimistic. I see it as a call to action and a reality check of the truth that we need to hear as a way for us to move forward, right? And so for me, the Odu is actually kind of it is for me I guess it's much needed as a way for us to stop putting upon those who mean to do us harm the ideas that we think they will have on us and actually believe what they say, right? So if you look at Black feminists, they talk about, you know, Maya says, you know, basically like, I got to believe what you do because you do it, right? So I'm going to believe. James Baldwin tells us this too, right? Like I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. And I think for so long we have set in this kind of weird moral compass of thinking that we know society should do X, Y, and Z. And when they keep doing what they always been doing, right? Because oppression, whiteness, white supremacy, it does not know how to be innovative. They just constantly take and reproduce. It's like, when do we believe that they're going to keep doing this stuff so that we can actually come together and organize and push back, right? A lot of this idea that if we already know what they're going to do, what is our responsibility to organize now in order to start to fight back in very strategic ways in different places? And we're starting to see this throughout society in the world, right? They just tore down the Colston statue in Bristol, England, the biggest slave trader of the many parts of the city is named after. We're seeing the same thing in the US, taking down these statues. When you take down the places that the state uses to draw its strength from, you take away some of their power, right? So if we apply the ideas of what we learned in these traditions and the power of the altars and the power of giving Igbo and putting these rituals in place, when we disrupt what they do and how they put their rituals in place, that's part of the strategy. So for me, I don't know, I'm rambling, but for me, it was a call to action. I don't see it as pessimistic. I see it as telling us to draw upon the ancestors, the knowledges that we've already have, and impart them in the present day. And for me, having Oshun come out in the Afro-Cuban tradition, we do our letter on January 1st, right? And Oshun no Batala ruled the year for us here. So having Oshun come through again shows the power of, for me, purity and wisdom, because she's been with me this whole year in various ways to help me kind of understand her in a different way, understand her as the warrior, right? The divine warrior as well. And how do we go back to our essence and our roots in order to make something new? So for me, this is about new world building collectively. And so I'm gonna stop there. But for me, that's what I saw. And I think, Raquel, when you said the darkness is really important, because for me, when you go deep and dark, the light will always come through. So darkness is where you find your light. We are in the darkness right now. So what are we going to create? What are we going to make? Are we going to let the state keep doing what it's doing and oppressing Black bodies and Black people? Or are we actually going to draw upon the ancestral knowledge we have to organize in various aspects of our life, understanding our role in the new world making, so that we can actually think about what the new foundations will be in society? So for me, this is a clearing. Get out of the foundations and build new. So I thought it was a very pertinent and really the best Odu one could actually have in these times for me.
Ashe. That's like, yeah, well, your assessment of it is a call to action. If anyone was unsure a minute ago, there's no doubt. Stand up, organize. Yeah, I agree. I you know, when I started to look at it, and I was, you know, like, wow, Obialada with death. Wow, what is that? But again, that's where the stories come in. It's a call to action. Don't wait. Don't wait. I love that assessment where it's like, hey, what did you say? I can't believe what you say because I'm seeing what you do. It's clear. You know what I mean? It's clear. And when we look at it from a big picture, well, we have enough evidence. You know, we have enough evidence. We don't have to speculate. We don't have to give the benefit of the doubt. We don't have to wonder, I wonder, maybe. Nah, it's pretty clear. This is what's going to happen. So get out of the way. Just get out of the way. When they drop the, you know what I'm saying, the hammer, you don't have to be there to scream that, oh my God, they hit me in the head again. But yeah, they hit you in the head again. Because you're in the same place where they always drop the daggone hammer. Move. So I like that. I like that. Interesting, before we got here, I was all flustered because there's a friend of mine on Facebook who, I don't know him personally, you know what I mean? But he's, you know, posting statistics that people won't like about police brutality and, you know, stuff like this. And course, I'm like, man, don't pull out those raggedy, tired statistics about overall percentages of police brutality, and like, let's look at the numbers by race, by gender, city to city, state to state, and explain to me how people who are 12% of the population make up 50% of the of incarcerated people, and 26% of the the people who are being shot down unarmed. You know what I mean? It's like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And those are the kinds of things. I say that because what does happen is that we're so used to giving people the benefit of the doubt, and we're so used to making excuses for what's obviously happening to us, that other people are quick to throw in this fake data or this misleading data to bait us into this fake conversation about what's fair. And we don't have to speculate on that anymore. We don't have to speculate. That's not part of our job. We don't have to make people comfortable. We don't even have to be honest, we don't even have to engage in conversation with people. It's not even a conversation. This is something that we just need to address within our own ranks, everywhere, whatever group or circle you belong to. We don't need to announce everybody to the whole world, hey, look, this is what we're doing, and this is how we. No, we just need to take care of ourselves and manage what we need to manage, so that we're healthy and self-actualized. So thank you so much. I don't want to, I will have to go back to exactly the minute and a half of what you spoke and transcribe it, because I think it's that idea of this is as a call to action was like textbook. It's time for us to move. Okay, let's go. We have Fayinde and then Egbe Twin.
So two topics, sort of. Every so often, there's an Odu that falls where you can kind of feel the pressure of that Odu before it actually hits. And I think this is a situation where maybe for the past 2.5 weeks, I've been feeling the pressure of this particular Odu. So much so that I was reviewing it, and I realized the last time it fell, I was supposed to get some ocean water. And I have the gourd still, and I never got the ocean water to hang above my door. Above my door, like, there's so much voodoo up there, my goodness. But I never went to go and get the ocean water, so I asked one of my best friends to send me some. Literally last week, I was reviewing this Odu. The second part of that is my mother's Ori and the Ori of my grandmother and Egbe and Egun. I dream as a form of divination, and I dream sometimes in series. And for the past week, it's just been a series of dreams where my mother and my grandmother have been taking me on a journey and revealing different tools to me that are not necessarily Ifa based. And they've basically been like cussing me out in my dreams, like, you have a thing. We gave you tools. And it's just the pressure of this, the series. I can kind of see it manifesting in this particular Odu. So it was kind of like a, like Dr. T said, a call to action, but a personal call to action with my spirituality, with what it is that I do, with the tools that the maternal lineage within my family gave to me. The other side of this for me has been Oshun. I'm kind of looking in the chat and everybody's like, there's a commercialized view of who Oshun is to us, right? We If we look on Facebook and look in the media, we know her as being like sexy and sweet. I've had a totally different experience with Oshun. My very first divination 6 years ago, within the tradition, the EI was like, you're a priestess of Oshun. You are a priest of Shango. And she scared the hell out of me. I'm like, I am not any of those things. I am not sexy and I am not sweet. I'm not that person. I cannot relate to that. And I backed away from the tradition because that particular divination scared me. And then maybe a couple summers ago, Baba and I went to, there was a celebration and I was working with an Oya priestess. We had to do a shrine. And she's like, yeah, you know, I'm Oya. I'm gonna just come in here and get it done. And she's like, you know, Oshun, you can make it sweet. She's like, and mind you, this priestess, she was giving me the runaround all day. Like she was putting it on thick. Like I could not do anything to please this woman. And finally she saw something in me that I still didn't see in myself. I'm like, the Oshun thing is like, I don't know where she's getting this from. So Baba finally sat down with me and he's like, no. Oshun is meticulous. She picks the bones out of the food for her children. She is the one who is the stamp of approval. Like, look for those things. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Oh, that is how Oshun shows up for me. But for a long time, I rejected that energy. I rejected that energy until literally mid-ceremony, she was basically drowning me on the ground. So, you know, just kind of, I encourage people to look at a different view of Oshun that is kind of speaking through this particular Odu. You know, we like to see Oshun in that yellow or gold dress, but traditionally she is Orisha Funfun, you know, with accents of gold and yellow. You know, that is a white Orisha. So, you know, just look for that energy differently. And I'm just now kind of coming around to that, while also kind of feeling the pressures of the mothers within my own lineage, and being kind of taken on a ride, and almost being exhausted with my own little voodoo. I'm like texting Baba, like, Baba, I'm taking a break. I'm tired. They are putting the pressure on thick, but clearly the mothers in my family and Oshun are preparing me for something. You kind of just have to be willing to feel that for a while. And I think we're all being told we're going to be feeling that for a while.
Ashe, absolutely, positively. You know, there's what is the prayer? They say uneasy is the head that wears the crown. Uneasy is the head that wears the crown, or something like that. I think that's Shakespeare or something like that.
No, heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Yeah. It's in the hero's journey. If you guys ever look at like Joseph Campbell, his work around archetypes, the hero archetype, it's classic. You know, we don't want to bear the burden of our natural gifts and talents. You know, there's an intuitive part of us that recognizes the hero in ourselves, that each of us is the hero of our own story. And, you know, the stories that play out on the movies and stuff like that exemplify that journey and the dilemma that we all face with taking responsibility for what we know and what we could actually do, and everything that's riding on us should we decide to take up the challenge, right? And Fighting Day is, you know, you have that, you know, you got the hero's dilemma. Like, you know, if I accept this, if I kind of sort of nod a little bit, like, I know what this is going to mean. You on the hook. And the kicker is that you're on the hook anyway. You're on the hook anyway. So you might as well accept the assignment and take them through the front door.
Yes, Baba, you remind me quite often. I don't think people realize this type of stuff that you do. He sets me up, y'all. Like, he'll text me like 30 minutes before class to do a thing so I can't back out. Like, he's kind of learned my personality and the way I'll be like, oh, I'm going to retreat from this thing. Baba won't let me. He
No
will
way.
not allow me to run away.
No way. You know, when Fine Day, I probably have told this story too many times, but I have to tell it because it was like such a shock. We're in Trinidad morning. Oh my God. On the ground, aching, blindfolded, everything hurts. You're just in a daze all day, every day for days. And so, but they're asking you to pray. You know, they'll wake you up at whatever hour and they'll say, okay, pray. So you got to start praying. Yeah. And you're feeling it because everybody's praying. It's not like they just wake you up and say, yeah, pray. Man, there's a room full of people and everybody is into it. They are praying for you, right? So one of these times, at whatever time of day or night it was, they get us up and they say, pray. Now, I'm used to praying because, you know, I'm the leader, right? I'm supposed to take responsibility. I'm here and I brought Fine Day down here, blah, blah. So I got to pray. But I'm cross-eyed and like, whatever. So I say my prayer. It's 4 words, whatever I could muster. Then they ask Fine Day to pray. Fine Day is like to wake up early in the morning and give Ordi its due. These are the ones who cast Ifa for Orumila. I said, wow. Fine Day is reading that so clear. But then I had to say, wait a minute. Well, Fine Day's blindfolded. She can't be reading that. There's no, wait a minute. So I realized, oh, Fine Day has got stockpiled some verses. So she started rattling off these prayers. And, oh, I got a sleeper. I've been thinking Fine Day is you know, just, you know, tending to the garden. No. Fine Day is harvesting and processing and making all kinds of stuff. So it's clear that this is not something that should be ignored or slept on. And so I appreciate the, you know, of course, the humility, right, and the humbleness in the approach, but it's also, you know, it's necessary medicine. You have to acknowledge and demonstrate what Ordi has given you, what Ordi has chosen. And I think part of what Ifa is telling us here is just that. The call to action is, on a certain level, acknowledging what we have, recognizing what we've chosen, being honest with ourselves and everybody around us with the capabilities that we have, and showing up fully in our own lives and in the lives of the people that we're destined to serve. And I'm thankful that we're here together doing it in this way, because, you know, we're not the only ones. We're just the ones that we see right now. So there's 30 of us on the call right now, but for each and every one of us, you know, we have other counterparts, and we have to just keep preparing ourselves and keep showing up so that when we meet our counterparts, then we can lock arms with one another. We can see one another and we can recognize and say, oh, I know what you're struggling with. I know what's difficult for you. I know some of the things that you're afraid of. And I also know what you could accomplish. I know what, you know, what's possible for you. I know what beautiful things also await you. Let's join forces, and at the very least, let's encourage one another and support one another in doing what we do in our respective corners, so we can broaden the circle, we can increase the numbers, and, you know, build on this opportunity that we have. So I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to where the road takes us next. Yes. Egbe Toyin. Have we lost you? Oh, La Lamfe, Egbe Twin, are you there?
Boye.
Boye Boshisheo, how are you?
I'm okay. So this is like, right now I'm being mounted. Okay, let me just try to explain. Before I went to get my egg bed initiation,
Yes.
I was being visited by Oshun like a lot, and she would give me messages. And it took a long time for me to really accept that this was her. So I kind of confided in one of the Chief Popola's sons and was relaying the messages to him. And as time went on, I would see the messages reveal itself. So I haven't been, since my Egbe initiation, I received Ocha of Oshun in Obatala.
Mm.
And I don't know, the last month or so, I hadn't been appeasing her, or she wasn't visiting. And yesterday, or on Oshe Ifa, I fed her and she came. And I know, I don't know a lot about mountain. So when I have this experience, it's new for me, just as it may be new for some of you. Maybe some of you may know about mountain. But right now she's here. When she comes, I get like intoxicated, and I don't know how to explain it, but she has a message. And it's so funny because I was praying and asking Ifa to let me be clear about my gifts. And I always I had this since I was a child, but I guess when I got initiated, it really came on and really helped me to define what my specific gift is for whoever I'm supposed to serve. So she's here now. This is the first time that I ever talked in front of a group of people. When she comes, and it doesn't feel comfortable because I feel really vulnerable, and but I know I need to do this because, but however, Olodumare, if it's gonna use me, I surrender. So I asked Oshun, what does she have to say? And this is what I wrote down. This Odu for the year is symbolically showing us that we are in the womb. The darkness is because we're all of the devotees of Ifa, we're in the womb time. And just like a mother protects her child while they're in the womb, we have to protect what we're preparing for the future. We're preparing for a birth. We're preparing for newness, and we have to eat right. We have to protect the baby, this manifestation that's going to come forth after this journey. We have to protect it from the toxins of these evil forces by preparing and focusing on our energy on this baby. Men may not have been pregnant, but Oshun wants you to know we all have male and female energies. And anytime you love something, you want that thing to live, you're going to protect it, you're going to nurture it, you're going to give it those things that's going to keep it alive and vibrant. And that is what her message was. To keep the balance. Oshun she's an arumale of purity, of wisdom. And she says that she's calm, she has calmness. And with her calmness, we will be able to get through these challenges that we have to go through. And with her calmness, it will give us balance, and it will help us to stabilize whatever it is that we're creating. It will keep the chaos from breaking in on what we're molding and what we're fashioning to give birth. And that's it.
Ashe. Ashe. You know, there's a part of this Ifa that I was just looking at a verse, and it's interesting that it coincides with what you were just conveying to us right now, which is as a part of this Ifa, it's perseverance is so important in our ability to see the mission and then carry it through and go all the way with the mission. It's not easy. It's not easy. We take a lot for granted in the process, but we're not called to just start. We're called to finish. We're called to complete the process. We're called to make it manifest fully with a certain quality. And again, this is where the role of Oshun is so pivotal, because it's the quality piece, right? We can manage where we're going and doing the steps, but it's Oshun's energy that allows us to know that when we complete it, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And that's what we want it to be. We want it to be good. We want it to be a victory that we can be happy about, something that we can finish and look back upon it and just be pleased with the outcome, no matter how much work it takes, how much sacrifice we have to make. When we know that, like you were saying, that, you know what I mean? It's like a baby. When you can look at the child and you can say, I'm proud of this child. I'm pleased with the kind of person that you are. I'm really impressed with the way you show up and how you demonstrate certain qualities. That's where the real satisfaction is. So I want to share a little bit of this, and then there are a couple of people who are also have their hands. They've been waiting patiently. But this is a verse of Ogbe Alara Ogbe Jegbe. Ifa declares that I shall accomplish my mission in life. I chorus that I shall accomplish my mission in life. He declared that a hoe is not so small as to take on a farm heap row without completing its mission. Right? So if you guys have ever done like the old school farming where you got a hoe and you got to take a row, everybody gets a row, and you go down your row, your hoe isn't very big, and your row can be 20 yards, 30 yards. It can be long, you know what I mean? Depending, but like probably in our cases, but anyway, the hoe is never so small that it can't finish a row. So you may feel, oh, so insignificant, but you can finish a row and prepare things for planting. Ifa declares that I shall accomplish my mission in life. I chorus that I shall accomplish my mission in life. He declared that a woman cannot take a calabash to a brook without accomplishing the mission of fetching water. I will accomplish my mission. These were Ifa's declarations to Alabaun Ijapa, the tortoise, who will be given the title of exasperation expert. Others took Aro titles. He took Ejemu titles. Others took Ejemu titles. And other people took Otun titles. Alabaun insisted that he wanted to be Ajebete, the exasperation expert, who was advised to sacrifice. That's another story, and it's great about Alabaun Ijapa. But the gist of that verse is that we're going to finish it. We start with the end in mind. So our time, we're like at an hour and some change. I see we got 3 hands, and we'll make these the last 3, then we'll wrap it up because I just don't want to take up everybody's day. Miss Muhammad, how are you today? Good afternoon. Hold on one second. I'm gonna unmute you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. Alafia, greeting everyone. I'm blown away. This has just been very powerful. and the energy and the message that just came from Oshun is just very powerful. I just want to be real quick. Okay, so the journey, because first I was going to ask a question because I really don't want to say a lot. The journey seeming to take a long time and just keep step by step. And so I feel that personally in my own experience, it's taken a long time. And I'm like, oh, this Nigerian and Yoruba language, you know, I can't get words. I can't remember. Oh my goodness, it's gonna take me a long time. And I'm kind of seasoned in my life right now. So sometimes that seems to be kind of a challenging barrier that puts a little trepidation in my heart, but I'm committed to keep going further and study. And then the preparedness and readiness part, you know, we talked about setting the stage to take advantage of spontaneity. And Sister mentioned earlier about how, you know, thieves' case of joint. That reminded me, and my daddy used to talk about that. And I thought about that movie, Ocean's 11, and how sometimes, you know, you prepare to, you know, make this heist or whatever, and you practice it down to a science for something that happens when you have to be spontaneous and make a change of plans because it wasn't in the it wasn't in the plan. And so that's how we have to be. I think, you know, and I think about myself being able to always prepare, like you got us going through the study and learning and being able to have fundamental knowledge and just having that down pat so I can call upon it at any time. And being a veteran of the United States military, that's something that I always pull on because it's connected to my training in the Nation of Islam about, you know, this preparedness and a military type of disposition. And then ditto about the stereotype instead of the archetype of Oshun. I felt that same way too. However, I continue to study and learn about her because I was like, this is deeper than that. And to come to find out that this sister was, her energy in terms of the stamp of approval, because the divine feminine is crucial to bring about, you know, giving that okay or that stamp of approval or that quality assurance. You know, your mother made sure that you look right. You know, was your nose clean? Did you have on the clean underwear? Those kind of like mundane things. Also, as you opened up earlier, Baba, about Iwa, if you don't have this character, you don't, regardless of whatever else you have, you don't have anything. And then my question is, what is the connection, if any, between Ori veneration and the Iyami Osaranga? Because I understand that Oshun was like, it's either Oshun or maybe Yemoya, I could be totally wrong, that that energy is what the kings and the heads of the nation states, they have to go to the mother to get approval before they do anything or, you know, make major decisions. So if you can comment on that, that would be great. Thank you. Ashe.
Yes. The piece, you know, the first piece, I want to just acknowledge what you were saying about preparation, quality, and completing it, you know, and being trained to do so. I think that is like fundamental for this particular Odu. We preparing ourselves and practicing, you know, preparedness and being ready to respond. You know what I mean? It's just, you prepare, you put everything in place because you want it to go according to your plan. How many people quit because they found something that they didn't expect, right? For some people, preparation is it's a foregone conclusion. Things are going to go from 1 to 10, and there won't be anything, you know. And if they see anything outside of that, then they freeze. And that's part of like not quitting not being, you know what I mean, frozen because everything didn't exactly the way you wanted to. That's where the spontaneity and the movement and the change and the flexibility comes in. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to you know, keep the game in play until we can get back on course, because our plan really is probably going to work. It's just that this is something that we hadn't anticipated. And if we can manage this uncertain moment, then we'll be able to get back on course and continue our journey. I want to reiterate what you said there. Now the question about, at the end, the question is the relationship between Ori veneration and Iyami Shoronga, and then you gave an example of like the kings who are conferred, some, you know, some of their authorities are conferred by Society of Mothers.
Yes.
So what exactly is your question? Does Ori veneration relate to Awanyami somehow, or I'm not making the connection?
Well, I guess, and maybe I'm not clear because I'm just kind of, I'm thinking about a lot of things, and then when Iya Oshun came in, and then I'm like, okay, so she's one of the mothers I understand from a historical standpoint that kind of set in place this, you know, you need to come, you know, and you shared this in the story, in the Odu, you need to check in with the mother to get that stamp of approval and get that okay, that everything that you've been putting in place, or everything that you have a plan to do has been conferred upon and been given that okay by the mother. So I guess that whole thread between, okay, you started off talking about our mother is, she's the only thing between us and success, or me and success. So that's still that stamp of approval, that if I understand correctly, and praise your mother's spirit. So that whole, and the sister just talked about, and that touched me as a nurse midwife, the womb and the fashioning of a child, and that whole process of protection, and then preparing for it coming to be. And so I just thought about, okay, with the, you know, is it just more, because at first I just thought about my mother, because my mother has passed on, and I have my ancestral shrine, and I'm striving to make that connection. But then I thought about it deeper than that, and more, you know, having a higher place in it in terms of what we are doing as a community to have that Iyami Osaronga type of approval. I mean, that from a, I guess, an official standpoint, if you will, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think I understand what you're saying. So there's a distinction, right? So like, I understand what you're saying. When the kings go to, when we say the kings rule kind of by the grace of the Awanyami, that is, so when we put that into context, the kings rule by grace of all of the different spiritual groups in a kingdom.
Right.
See, the Orisha people, the Ifa people, the Iyami, the Ogboni, etc. All of them are, the king is a patron of all of those different groups. And by the king patronizing and supporting each of them, they in turn support the king. They're like constituencies in a way. So that's part of what people say, what they mean when they say that, like, the king rules by the grace of the elders of the night. So that's one part. When it comes to the Iyami and like our, let's say, our approval in winning their favor, it's a slightly different thing in that what we do with the Iyami is on average, what we're doing is we are reassuring them. We are not when we say, when I say reassuring them, we are reassuring them that we recognize their influence, we recognize their power, we recognize their ability, and we are reassuring them that we're not going out of our way to offend them. We're not going out of our way to disrupt them. You know what I'm saying? We're not fighting them. What we're doing is we're carrying out the affairs of running our whatever, our kingdom, our temple, et cetera, et cetera. It isn't the same as, let's say, if we would say Oshun or Yemoja. Oshun or Yemoja, we're going to them. We're seeking their active support and engagement in making certain things real in our environment, right? It's different. Iami and Orisha are different, have different functions. So we seek the approval of Iami, of Oshun. We seek the approval of Yewa. We seek the approval of Oya. We seek the approval of those other deities. Iami, we reassure them that we're not inviting them to fight with us.
Okay.
Because it can be contentious. It can be problematic if they feel like what we're trying to do is dismiss them, we're trying to step over them, or we're trying to, ignore them. They can create difficulties for us. We don't want that to be the case, and we don't want it to be misunderstood that, hey, what we're doing is antagonistic towards the elders of the night. But we don't generally go to them and say, hey, I want your help with this, or I'm doing this and I want you to sign off on it and give me some.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the distinction. So I think that's what you're describing. So when we say Ori Iya, now some people would interpret it differently. Some people wouldn't say, when we say Ori Iya, then they say, well, Iyami, right? All Iyami. No.
Okay.
Iyami, we call Iyami, they call it a euphemism. We call Iyami because we know that their energy is volatile. And so we say Iyami as a term of endearment. We say Iyami so that we're coming to them like on bended knee, hands folded, so that we don't upset them. But it's because we know that they can be dangerous. It's not like, Iyami is not your mother. It's not the same as your Iya. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I want Iyami is not the same as the spirit of your mother. I want it's not like just generalized as like a loving, good, your mother loves you. Your mother's gonna take care of you. Your mother's gonna look out for you. Iyami might look out for you, and Iyami might not. Right? Your mother is gonna make sure, like you said, your face is clean and all that, and she's not gonna take nothing from you as a result. You don't have to be worried about your mother, somehow mistreating you under ordinary circumstances. Iyami is not like that. Iyami is like, you want to be careful, and so you're calling her my mother because you know that that's your mother is synonymous with love, kindness, and nurturing. So it's something we approach Iyami that way because we want to appeal to them as like, come on, moms, I know you're sweet, I know you're caring, I know you love me. This is me, this is your baby.
Okay.
This is me, it's your baby, moms. Come on now. And so it's like, all right. What? All right, I'm not gonna mess with you. That's the distinction. That's the distinction.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's something that probably, and it's given the fact that we've seen Ori Iya so many times, it's a subject that it just requires that's like a whole year-long course, to really tease out, like, when we talk about Awan Yami, what are we talking about actually? And it's a it's a separate subject altogether, but it does deserve attention. You know, it does deserve attention, particularly because in this instance where we look at Yalada, we're appealing to our Ori Iya, and we also have Oshun making a very pronounced presence. So where does Iyami factor into this? So I appreciate your question and your insights there.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
absolutely.
for deciphering, brother.
Absolutely.
And feeling me through that right there. Thank you, thank you.
I say we thank you, Fa. Okay, so we'll go two more. We got Armand and then Ava, and then we'll wrap it up. Brother Armand, how are you today? We still have you, Armand? Armand's iPhone?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Excuse me. I'm doing a little bit of yard work as we're talking. So.
Oh, nice.
It took me a second to get to the phone. Wow. Okay. Well, a couple things. Well, not a couple things, but the point that I wanted to share was basically this. I remember in the late 90s, I believe it was, or early 2000s, there was a saying that came out of the hood, quote unquote, bad boys or whatever you want to call it, which was no snitching. And I don't know if anybody remember that term. It was real popular. You weren't supposed to tell the police or go tell authorities or whatever that somebody's committing a crime in your neighborhood. And if you did that, you were a real Black person, and that was supposed to be an honorable thing. And as I heard you speak today, it made me think about how those same people that were revered and looked at with respect, with the whole no snitching, selling drugs, just really destroying the community. They were the ones that were, if you want to call that term, sellouts. And I remember being really closely associated with a certain type of a gang. And I was able to see a lot of the things that were going on. And this was in Boston, by the way, in a place called Dorchester. And one of the things that I saw was just a group of boys who had basically wanted a better life for themselves. They didn't want to have to struggle working 9 to 5. I was working in a place called Watertown. So I would travel from Dorchester to Watertown, which was probably about 2 hours. I was 14 or 15 years old, and I was taking a bus and a train to work every day. And I think I might have had to walk a mile or whatever it was. And because I wanted to work, I wanted to get money and all of that. And these kids were making probably 2-3 times more money than I was. But I really didn't care. I wasn't going to do what they were doing, but I was still closely associated with them. And oh shoot. Anyway, so with that being said, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I had one of my closest friends who lived across the street from me. Now he decided that he was going to be selling drugs, and he needed somebody to kind of be there for him, to look out for him, and not necessarily have to sell anything like that. So at the time, again, setting was about me. I was 14 years old. I was probably a couple years or about a year, less than a year, that I had moved to Boston from New York, from Brooklyn. And my experiences with how I grew up in Brooklyn, there was a lot of violence, a lot of shootings, a lot of things that I had been exposed to and had to deal with. So I was coming from that. to a place where I really wanted to do good. I really wanted to be that. I just wanted to do good, and I was able to see that my best friend and just him being affiliated with this gang, how one of the guys that was who supplied him or he sold drugs for had was accused of swindling 200 from the that big. This limousine pulls up and these Italians come out of the car. This was like the freaking acting woozy smack and yelling at him. Can you hear me?
It broke up, but where you
Hello?
got to the point where you said that you were with your friends, you guys were somewhere, and then there was people showed up with in a limousine with the Italians who jumped out, but that all that got broken up.
Okay. So DZ, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these guys came out and accused of shorting him $200.
Okay.
And this was probably 87 and 90. He smacked my best friend, I guess boss or whatever, up. It was like, oh, better have my $200, all this stuff. And a few later, he came back and said, hey, we found it to you. It was gave him, and then my whole world changed, because then I started.
It's breaking up again.
How some of these kids making money. Okay.
No, it's all. Oh, I think you dropped altogether now. Yeah, we lost. All right, so we'll wait for Brother Armand to jump back in. That was.
Baba,
Yes.
it's me, Ava.
Ava, good morning. Oh, good afternoon.
Yeah, well,
Oh, wait, you want to unmute? Hold on. Let me unmute you.
mine is quick.
Okay.
I sent you an email, so I'm going to put it out to the group. I am looking for music. I'm looking for music that's tied into IFA. I have not going to get into it. You just have kind of stressful situation, and really the only soothing music that I find is Christian based. And it's okay, you're moving around and then, you're singing and, praise Jesus. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with it, but if I'm trying to learn a new lifestyle, it would help me. Miss New Orleans, based in music, my soul needs music, and I don't necessarily need the African drums because it's a stressful situation and the percussions don't help. It just doesn't. And the staccato of the jazz is not going to help either. I understand what you're saying. I can't do staccato right now.
Dang, Ava, what we gonna do?
I don't know. So I got to put it out there to you guys. I'm like, okay, I got a Cuban sister in there. She might be able to find, somebody might have some music. There was another Latino lady that spoke, I need something that's non-secular.
Okay.
But not necessarily Christian based.
Okay.
And that's it for right now. And that's, I will, just putting that out there. Somebody's got to throw some names out to me or some music.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, you ready to start talking again?
Well, no, it's not about that. I just wanted to say that if you give me your information, I can share some things with you.
Hey, thank you. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
To Ellison, Miss Ava, I had the same exact problem because I came from Christianity, and praise and worship music would get me into the spirit and would get me going.
Yeah.
And so I have some favorite artists like Ella. I know her voice is beautiful. I have some songs that are like Ye Moja, whatever Orisha you need to get you out of that trying time. I have music that has had me crying. I have music that has had me dancing. I have music for whatever I need. And I was having trouble because I was just like, man, what's up with the music? Like music is what used to get me through all of the stuff that I was going through. So it took me a long time to kind of replace that. Right. So you can ping me as well on Facebook, and I can send you some of my favorites that are like will get you in the spirit.
Thank you. Right? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So somebody, Stephen has suggested maybe we have a Spotify playlist of Orisha songs. That would be really good. If anybody knows how to do that, I've used Spotify, but I've never created a playlist. That might help, or a YouTube playlist. That would be fantastic. We can share that, like instead of sharing them on the, like say on the Orisha on the group, let's just make a list. If somebody can make a list and then we can add to it, is that possible? Or where other people can add to a playlist?
Maybe we can start a thread within the Facebook group. Just ask a question of like what the favorite artists are and what some of the songs are, and then we can find it on Spotify, and I can create the list.
Okay.
And then share it out.
I love it. So let's do that. Well, somebody can start a thread, and then we'll
thank you.
Make a list.
That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Okay.
Absolutely. I like it. Yeah, because music is key, and Ella Andal is magnificent. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see. Armand, take us to the promised land here. We got halfway through your story, and then it cut out. But what was it that you wanted to share with us? I know that the story of your crony and his days of crime is not the gist of. Uh-oh, are you there?
No, I'm gonna connection is bad. What you were sharing with that being it, oh gosh, you can't hear me?
No, not really. It's
going for me to share. Okay, it's all right.
All right. Well,
it's all good. I'll just mute myself and listen.
I'm sorry. Well, type it into the chat, and then we can at least get the idea of where you're going, because I can tell that it was something that was, significant. Took you back, right? But we just can't hear it all because of the choppiness of the connection. So that being said, though, we have such
okay,
richness of experience, and such a depth of experience that it's this is fitting for the new year, is what I'm trying to say. Where we are in the new year, it's good that we have this much energy and this much intensity of our focus. And what I want to do is just encourage everybody to stay focused, continue to maybe they're gonna print it out. I was gonna say continue to review the verses. I haven't seen the written verses yet, but they will come shortly, probably from Fakayode and AGOD temple in Ibadan. He usually writes them up, and they'll probably have like 20 different verses and stories and the whole 9 yards on it. And I will check with my people back on the continent about any particular kinds of medicines or preparations that would be fitting for us in this new year. But I want to thank you for making time for us to come out and talk about what OKE Alara has for us in the upcoming year. And I hope that this conversation has been, insightful for you and has, been useful for you. And most importantly, I hope that it puts our Irete Osa that we have for this Itadogun into even more context. We can understand the possible ramifications of what Ifa told us in our group has, right? It has overlap with what Ifa is saying to the world. So when we move in according to what Ifa has given us in the Itadogun, we now know how it syncs up with the global program for OKE Alara. They've done the EBO. That's the way it happens. They do the EBO and everything there in Ilefe, so you don't have to worry about that. All we have to do is, do our part for Irete Osa. That being said, they've started it now for all of the guys. If you have, I haven't gotten a chance to find out if the people who already did the coin ritual at the crossroads, if you have to do it again. I'm still waiting to hear on that out within the next hour, so I'll check back in and ask if that's necessary. But from this moment forward, if you have not done that ritual, you can go forward and do your prayers at the crossroads with your quarters, rub them together, touch your ordi, drop them, and run home. And that's something that the ladies don't have to worry about. That's just for men, and that pertains to Irete Osa. Because again, it was death, right? So our Irete Osa predicted, hey, death is coming, and OKE Alara is reiterating that. So that being said, I want to just thank you and encourage you to keep going into your studies, keep preparing yourself, keep getting your orientation, keep clarifying your orientation for the long-term benefit and outcome of what we would like to accomplish, both personally and collectively. We'll get back together on Tuesday for our Odu study group on Irete Osa. And if you haven't already, please make time to do an exercise or two from the study guide so that you can make your presentation and with the group at that time. And that's the goal, right? This is the second phase of the study group wherein really the emphasis is on doing what we've been doing now, which is you sharing your insights into the Odu, your experience with the Odu, sharing what it means to you and how it registers in your particular life right now. This is good for you as a person. It's good for your ability to really have a personal relationship with each Odu that we see, but it's also important for you being able to do some of the things that Ifa talks about, which is stand up, and be visible and recognized in the world as a bearer of truth and a keeper of the tradition. So that being said, I want to just thank you all. Blessings to you. And if you got any other questions or insights, feel free to reach out to me online and we will follow it up. I'm going to upload this video to the group on Facebook as well as on Patreon. So you'll be able to chance to go back and hear anything that you may have missed if you came in later. So that's all for now. Many blessings to you. Enjoy your Sunday, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days. Bye for now.
Alba, there's some questions. Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, questions. What questions are there?
Raquel, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to make sure that you repeat the instructions about the coins for everyone, because I made all the men in my family do it.
Okay.
But it's already been done, so I need to know what the follow-up is.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna find out, because I asked if there was anything other, and there were some people who did it before.
Yes, that was us.
Yeah, there was a few. There were quite a few, so I may not have even specified that well enough. But I'll find out if it has to be done. I know it was to accompany the EBO, but when I got the confirmation on the EBO, he was telling me they've done this first part of the EBO. Tonight they're going to do the second part.
Got it. Okay.
Right. So
All right.
it's all been done now, but it was like, you know, we were a little bit ahead. So I'll find out and let you guys know.
Thank you. Thanks, Fighting Day.
Let me see. What other questions do we have here? Playlist. We'll get to the playlist once we get to Facebook. Somebody can just make a post, and then we can figure out what the most efficient use of that is. Were there other questions, Fainde?
No, Baba, I'll write the post and then people can just add their comments on Facebook and then I'll generate on Spotify and share it. And I'll make it collaborative too, so you can share directly on Spotify as well.
Magnificent. Magnificent. All right, good people. That's what we got. Bye for now. Odabo.
Bravo.